Let's see if I'm live. Okay, there we go. Yeah. Oh, I have music? Oh, darn. Oh, you know what? It must be the media source, but it is. I wonder if I could fix that, because that's just a, yeah, because otherwise it'll just... It's very short. Yeah, yep. And technically the whole space thing should be a lot slower too. You know what? Let me see if I also have... Hold on. Properties. How on earth do I mute this? Oh, I could slow down the speed. Maybe I should mute it first though. No! How on earth do I do this? Media source. Oh, dang bat. No? Yeah. There we go. That good? Hey. There we go. I slowed down the speed of it too, so it should be a lot slower and not just do an immediate loop till it just, you know. Okay. Oh. I feel like we need to at least have a Jenny model here, so that way we at least have, yeah, so we have some kind of back, well, you know, a starter model. And I have that slime, so that could be our first test enemy. Yeah. Yep. Yep. I need to get in gear with these animations. It's just, Bop, 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 bop. Okay. This is what anxiety looks like. Yep. Yep. I'm terrible at pricing, but I am working on it. might as well do the one thing I never do and label this stuff. Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I need to actually... I need to color the slime a little, the one that I did. Because I've got the outline, I just didn't color it in. Okay. So we got a skeleton sort of model. I need to get the Jenny model here. Ah. And just kind of compress that so I just get a base of what all I need to, what I'm working with. Now, probably about... Just trying to see. Yeah, as right as... Um... Well, I could... Hold on. Let me delete this. No. Ah, crud. Got off the page. So I could do one thing where... Hold up. I could transform, scale, rotate... Oh! Whoa! Hmm. Yeah, let me not keep the original there. Mm-hmm. Whoa. Well, that's a thing. Yep. Good for if you want like a design on a t-shirt. On a picture. Oh no, hold up. Crud. Yeah, desktop
Audio
on.
output capture
See,
source.
I had it off when I was streaming
Ah,
on the, like, the capture card by myself.
okay.
Because I didn't want the computer to make little bings and Discord.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
What are you apologizing for? There's nothing to
Because
apologize
I
for.
didn't want the... I'm just goofing up. Yeah. Oh well. At least it's an easy fix.
Mm-hmm.
About...
So this looks a little bit squashed inwards. There's got to be a way to resize this while preserving the original aspect ratio.
There probably is, and I'm rotating the canvas, and I don't want that. But I'm just trying to get a gist of what roughly to, well, the height and everything. Hold shift and resizing the corner?
It's either holding shift or holding control or holding alt that
It's
usually does it.
it's not control because control is perspective,
Yes, control gives you that perspective effect. So
which
it'd
is
have to be either shift or alt then.
it's shift.
Aha! Excelsior!
So let me just delete this just for grins. Alright. Shift. Ba-da-ba-da.
So I get the slightest bit of adjustment and yeah, there we go.
Yeah. And I'm going to gray out this. Well, not gray out, but you get my point.
Yeah.
And I probably should put this at the bottom layer for right now. Whoops. That is way too big. My nose is about like...
Yeah. Slightly upturned nose.
Yeah. Probably won't get too much progress done, but we might get some.
Starting on just kind of a basic idea of what her walk cycle will look like.
I need to get on these because I know it takes a while.
Yeah, I still haven't even modeled the character that I want for a 3D game. And I'm hoping to have like a whole cast of characters in that too. Yeah, learning the Godot engine is pretty fun though. It's a little bit more complicated than using Unity or Unreal, but it also gives you more control for performance. You can have better graphics on more systems, basically. Better graphics on more computers. I'm really hoping that I can have both of these games, have it so that you can run them on Raspberry Pis. Because like even there was some recent news about Vulkan, about the Vulkan graphics API that it's now conformant with or it's either Vulkan that's conformant with Raspberry Pi Model 4 or Raspberry Pi Model 4 Mesa drivers, graphical Mesa drivers that are compliant with the current Vulkan engine. And that is very exciting because up until now, like before this news, Raspberry Pi's Model 0, 1, 2, and 3 were already Vulkan compliant enough that you could run the Quake series video games on it at like over 100 frames a second.
That's nice.
Yeah, like that is better than the computers that Quake was made for. That is faster and more smooth than the computers that Quake was originally made for.
Mm.
So yeah, running a game like this, which is like around SNES level, or maybe like the arcades that were around when the Super Nintendo was around,
Yeah.
that should be real easy to do on a Raspberry Pi.
Or maybe, what is it? Probably Saturn-esque because the
Yeah.
graphics are a little less pixely.
Oh yeah, the sprites are definitely going to be cleaner than SNES.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's why I'm thinking like more along the lines of arcade. Like I'm just thinking back to the Ninja Turtles arcade in particular, Ninja Turtles and X Men arcade, and how smooth those walking and jumping and attacking animations were.
Mm-hmm.
I still remember like in the Turtles arcade game compared to the NES game. Like the NES game gave you one jump kick, but the arcade game had like 3 or 4 different jump kicks depending on how early you hit attack in your jump arc.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you attacked while going up, then you would do an upward kick, and if you attacked while going down, then you would change your entire trajectory into a diagonal. You would launch yourself diagonally downwards with a downward kick.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in Turtles in Time, they made it so that if you hit the attack button at the peak of your jump, then you could do like a spinning weapon attack in the air.
Yeah. Trying to
It looks.
fade
I remember
this.
it looked a little bit clumsy too.
Yeah. Trying to fade this a little because I don't want this to determine like the proportions,
Oh yeah.
and I'm totally letting that happen.
My weakness in doing 2D animation is it tends to turn into paper doll animation because I break the model into parts
Mm-hmm.
and basically trace over them like I'm animating a paper doll. And the best way I can think of to solve that is to trace over the finished paper doll animation and introduce the proper like drawing flaws that you would see in an animation that was drawn from scratch, like
Mm.
that was drawn the proper way, rather than just like bits of a paper doll that were moved around.
Mm-hmm. Need to fix this a little bit more. Okay. Boot is about.
So yeah, Jenny is going to be the somewhat germaphobe protagonist that's doing this out of a sense of duty.
Yeah. Because slimes
So
are
she's got
just
her
so gross.
yeah. So she's
Probably
got these
her
gloves on and her shirt tucked
motivation.
into the gloves. Yeah, and her pants tucked into the boots so
Yeah.
that no part of the slime touches her.
Yep. She's probably literally doing this because slimes are just too gross for her. I
Yeah,
was gonna do
they're
the
just
buttons,
everywhere,
but
and she
yeah.
can't let anyone else be subjected to this utter grossness.
Yeah.
Aaron Lofton says, "When I animate 2D, I tend to slice the image up and reposition the pieces." Yeah, yeah, that's what I call paper doll style, because that's back when I did animation on flipbooks. I would have a reference image, and if it was a person, then I would have like a piece for every bit of the arm, for every segment of the arm, a piece for every segment of the leg, a piece for the middle, a piece for the head, a piece for the neck, and I would position them under the page and then trace over them, and it would quite literally be a paper doll without like the rivets connecting the pieces.
Yeah. I need to kind of do a little bit of just. No, that is not right. I'm just kind of determining where that one leg is, and I want to make it look
Mhm.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
I think the leg would be about there. Yeah.
Yeah. If that straight line there, or shoot, if the line going to the ball there is basically like the bone,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, then the leg would extend outward from there for sure. The leg bone extending down from the hip.
Yep.
So you've got kind of a style similar to what I did for a little while when transitioning from flipbooks to digital, and that
Mm-hmm.
is to animate a skeleton and then animate sort of the muscle on top of the skeleton.
Yeah. Not full on muscle, but enough muscle to get your your
Yeah, to
base
get
going.
like here in this case you've got like the leg muscle shape there. Got your quadriceps and then your calves over there.
Yeah. And then for the foot, which, ugh, shoes are my worst.
Yeah.
Shoes
I
and
mean, like,
fingers.
yeah. Fingers, I want to say I'm better than the average amateur artist, but that's really not saying much. I'm just more willing to do fingers than others, I guess, that others starting out in animation.
Yeah. This is a sloppy sketch part. On the parts that I'm not too confident on yet, I just do a little rough sketch, so.
Yeah, you could tell how confident you are by how scratchy the sketch is.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I was starting out in digital, people were throwing this particular Andrew Loomis book at me, and I mean it's nice that there's some free books out there on how to do 2D art, but it's never really just one book,
Mm-hmm.
unless you really want to just copy this one person's style. Like I don't really want to copy Andrew Loomis's style,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean it's a nice reference to have, especially being that it is a free book. I think there's an NSFW artist on Twitter called Sasa Singh
Mm-hmm.
or Sassy, and I believe she has a lot of really good like hand reference poses, particularly for like gripping weapons and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if all else fails, you could always take a whole bunch of pictures of your own hand and use those as reference too.
Yeah.
I mean, if you like the way your hand looks, I'm kind of proud of my hands. I've got these kind of skinny fingers, so I feel like if I had been put in like uh, doctor training or something, I could probably do like really precise surgeries.
Mm-hmm.
I had learned piano up till grade 10, so that's probably how these developed the way they are, how my hands developed the way they are.
Mm-hmm.
If the typing of the dead ever happened in real life, I would be totally prepared.
You just need to strap
Put a sword in my
a
hand.
Dreamcast to your back and.
Yep, one gigantic D-cell battery. I used my hand in a reference in Blender. Was more flat than I wanted.
Well, let's say the thumb may actually be here. In this position. Yeah, there we go. Something to that.
I wonder if it would help for like budding hand drawers to just draw like a mitt and then just refine it little by little.
Mm-hmm.
One thing definitely was a roadblock for me in drawing hands was
Left side.
trying to define the knuckles and stuff, like where the three segments of each finger are.
Yeah.
And I could see like there's other comic artists and stuff, web comic artists that have done this regularly, and they can draw these tiny looking hands, and you can see where every bit of the finger is, and it seems like impossibly, like it's an impossibly a lot of detail.
Hmm.
But I mean, it looks good. It's noticeable.
I think my problem is I want to make the hands very like somewhat distinct, but I have trouble with getting it right, getting the proportions right.
Yeah, I have that problem too. Proportions are definitely my weak point.
And I kind of want it to be unique because, you don't want it to look like anime girl hands and whatnot. Like,
Well, what makes a hand unique?
well, to me, the different sizes and knuckle sizes, well, knuckle sizes, length, shape. Because, for example, say like a woman's hand, that has like how the fat develops on women, it's a lot differently than a guy's. You'll see more defined muscles and bones on a guy's hand as opposed to a lady's hand. Well, depending. Typically.
I mean, of the hands I've seen throughout my life, there's hands with long skinny fingers, there's hands with short stubby fingers. That's about the extent of the difference as far as I've noticed.
And typically,
I
guys'
mean, I
hands
suppose
are a
you could
little
have,
bit bigger as well, bonier,
yeah, I guess.
more muscular.
Bonier. Both bonier and more muscular.
Hmm.
Hmm.
A lot of, like, at least from what little observation I have, in terms of muscles, between men and women, in terms of like anatomy speaking, women have more like round shapes and whatnot. It's due to like how the fat develops. It's a little
Okay.
bit differently in guys.
All right.
Hmm.
Like thinking back on it, I think most of the like, if I when I would shake a man's hand, his fingers would usually they would tend towards like the short, stubby fingered, working man's like rough kind
Hmm.
of hand, calloused hands, and that's usually because they're doing some tough work like construction, or uh, well, actually, there is quite a lot of construction going on here. I was going to just construction or construction. But yeah, and women would tend to be like, again, we have kind of an old-fashioned social structure here, so women would tend to stick with the piano or the crafting and stuff like that, so they'd have very agile hands.
Hmm.
Aaron Lofton says, now I'm self-conscious about my real hands after all this manly muscle hand talk.
Sorry.
I mean, I've got skinny, like I've got what someone might think are girly hands. Although, if man hands are bony, then yeah, mine are definitely bony. But they're
Well,
not muscular.
there's a lot more pronunciation in the knuckles and then the finger bones itself.
All right. See this? I would be interested in seeing how you model hands in Blender 3D at some point, like to model a man's hand and then model a woman's hand.
And I have, well, this is just basic observation. No art classes here, so. I don't know.
Because like modeling a hand, for me, modeling a hand in Blender is much easier than drawing it because you can make little cylinders and round them, or yeah, round them at the ends, taper them at the ends so that they're like little, I guess, meat segments, and then you could stick them into each other so that it looks like a decently realistic hand.
Hmm.
Like the base of the finger would pretty much just be a straight up cylinder, and then the tip would be like I guess closer to a sausage with rounded ends.
Hmm.
And then you could just implement an armature to turn these segments uh, within the constraints that a human hand would, and you've got something that maybe it wouldn't look really realistic staying still, but if it's constrained to move in the ways that a real hand does, then you've got a pretty realistic looking hand there.
Mm.
Like I kind of thinking back to Reboot Season 1, where the characters in still images look kind of not like, I don't want to say uncanny valley because it's definitely not. They're squarely in cartoon territory, but they move within human constraints,
Mm-hmm.
and it only gets better from there.
Fun fact, did you know the developers also did the Money for Nothing music video in the
The
80s?
Reboot people?
Yep.
I did not know that.
Yep.
I'll go look that up right now.
And they hated that video at first, well, after the fact because, oh, hey, you're the Money for Nothing people. And,
Money for
yeah,
Nothing.
Dire Straits is
Song by Dire Straits. Oh yeah, okay, that definitely looks familiar just from the thumbnail alone.
Yep. But, even Dire Straits, they quit not too long after that because they felt, we're pretty popular now, a little too popular.
Yeah, just to have. I remember 3D software back in this time, and it was like the most complicated thing a normal person could expect to do would just put a primitive on screen and make it spin around.
Yeah.
Especially with the power of our desktop computers back then.
Yeah, I saw that video on the VeggieTales thing, and they were saying
Uh-huh.
that some of the things that the guy was doing on 3D modeling was stuff on like the Atari family computer.
Mm.
Like,
All right.
and I'm not meaning like the one that was competing with Amiga, like the 600, I think.
Yeah.
Something that primitive. I'm like, dang. I did not know you could even 3D on that thing.
I guess. I mean, I'm thinking like way back then. Um, like there were 3D visuals, but you needed like super powerful computers, or maybe compositing,
Yeah.
compositing a bunch of primitive work into a complicated one. Because yeah, like when you rasterize 3D stuff, the computer doesn't have to calculate it anymore,
Mm-hmm.
or it usually doesn't have to do as much calculation.
I actually saw one of those older computers at it was one of those ministry thrifting places and whatnot. Like, oh, that just sounds so neat, but at the same time, I don't know if it works, and they are asking for way too much than I have.
uh,
Every time I see stuff like Commodore computers, it's always like $400.
yeah,
It,
that's collector prices.
I'm sorry, I don't know if it works. Be my luck, a
Yeah, yeah.
capacitor's blown.
That's the price you would give to someone who wants to keep it preserved in glass.
Yeah, no. I think if I really want a Commodore S computer, I think my better chance is getting one of those replicated ones that they have now.
Mm-hmm.
They just called
Refurbished.
it. Well, no, they actually have a replica one that has a working
Oh.
keyboard.
Hmm.
They had a mini, and then they actually had one that had a working keyboard.
Okay.
And it kind of works like the NES Mini, where you could select games if you wanted, but you could
Ah.
also do the typing if you want.
Okay.
Oh, I'm going on over the wrong lines. So many lines. When will the lines end?
Well, mathematically speaking, a line does not end. but line segments do.
Yeah. So if the
I
shortest
remember trying to make
distance is
this.
to, well, the shortest distance from A to B is a straight line, but the line doesn't end. How is it the shortest distance? Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's what that works. I was just gonna say that I was trying to make it this really dumb joke for years when I had like a couple of math teachers that were really into math, and that was that like um, I would draw a dot and then an arrow from the dot, and that in math is called a ray. And I would draw a gun attached to the end of the ray and say, "This is a ray gun." And I think their retort was that because the ray is labeled gun, it was gun ray or something like that. We could never quite agree on what exactly the joke was there. Wait a minute, no, if the gun is the label for the ray, then it would be ray gun, right? Because like if you're going like ray A goes at this angle and ray B goes at that angle and ray gun goes at this angle. So yeah, you don't say A ray and B ray. I prefer a gun that fires out guys named Ray. You ever played a game called Enter the Gungeon, Aaron? There's a you can pick up a bullet that shoots guns, and the guns that it shoots further fire bullets. You can pick up a barrel that fires fish, so you're shooting fish in a barrel. Just about every possible gun pun you could think of is in that game, and often as a weapon. One of the most common, I guess, weak weapons, level 1 weapons, is just a letter R. And the game's justification for that is anything that's vaguely shaped like a gun would work as a gun in the gungeon. And when you fire it, it fires out the letters, it fires LETTER.
It's a gun pun game.
Aaron Lofton says, I saw a guy on Reddit show a gun that shoots guns. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. Guns that shoot bullets that shoot guns. There's a sequel to Enter the Gungeon now. It's called Exit the Gungeon, and it's a short epilogue basically. You're basically riding an elevator and it's exiting. It's quickly like going backwards through the gungeon, but you don't have to do any like platforming or anything. You just shoot and dodge and survive until you get out of there. So yeah, it's definitely not a sequel to Enter the Dungeon. It's just an epilogue that plays like a different game. Like I would say, they made an arcade game basically, an arcade game as an epilogue to a roguelike.
Speaking of which, I actually need to play Bastion some. I don't know.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that you picked that up a little while ago. Yeah, I just picked up Sakuna of Bryson Ruin, and it has a lot of, well, I played a lot of Muramasa the Demon Blade back on the Wii, and this game definitely has a lot of inspiration from it.
You know, I'm going to take these frames, paste them on Pencil 2D. Not Pixel 2D. Wrong program.
See how it plays?
Yeah, see how it plays. I think I might change the color of this though, so it's a little bit more noticeable. This is just my go-to sketch line.
I'll probably want to take. I'll probably want to try and see if I can vectorize this at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing that Dane app, if we do get a chance to try that out, might have some trouble with it at first because this might count as a new model to train it on.
I'll save this later in the right spot, but you know what? I wonder if I could just pause out of this and put it on the video itself so I could go into my files.
Mm-hmm.
Media capture. How on earth do...
Oh, I guess you could put the media capture on top.
Yeah, there we go.
Making it the top layer of your OBS if you want to hide anything from the screen capture.
Yep. But no. Oh, those Reddit videos are just like... I watch those a lot on YouTube every now and again. It's pretty much junk food YouTube videos
Okay.
for me. May or may not even be true.
Like Photoshop videos?
Not really Photoshop videos, but just crazy scenarios.
Alright.
Let me save that there. And it should be good if I, well, it would be good if I actually... Oh no! Wait for program to respond. Come on, Clip Studio, do not do this to me. Worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, I did save it.
Yeah.
I just saved it in the wrong spot. So.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Okay. Ooh, sweet heavens. I'm sorry, everyone watching, going like, what is she doing? Gonna save this as a 1.
My worst nightmare, forgot to save often. Save early, save often.
Yep.
Works in games and out.
Yep. And then, I disabled the autosave feature here because it was actually crashing Clip Studio.
Ah. Does Clip Studio have a vector mode?
I think it might actually. Oop. Forgot to lock the layer.
That's not a vector mode.
No, it is not. But okay, I'm just moving the window capture back. And everything's frozen. Yay! Don't you love it when things never work when you want it?
Yeah, that's just perfect when that happens.
Yeah. Clip Studio is not responding. Wait to respond. Hey. Gosh dang it. When it rains, it pours. And when it pours... Oh.
Clip Studio crashes.
Yep. Clip Studio crashes.
At least it's not Sibelius.
Alright.
Wait, you've seen the thing on Sibelius, right?
I haven't.
Alright. Just add that to the list of things we should watch.
I watched one thing today. It was Atomic Shrimp. He does a lot of the scam baiting videos.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's so funny.
He's the one that does the like just say yes or just say
Yes.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it.
Yeah, I remember watching James Veach on scam baiting.
Mhm.
Might not have an easy time transferring to a vector. There's a beautiful drawing effect here. A lot of that would be consolidated into cleaner lines. Would change the art style. Yeah. This is for video games, for a video game though, and for a sprite that will probably be scaled up and down pretty often as we zoom in and out. So yeah, to preserve the original art style, we are going to have like, we're going to have a way for the player to view like all of the original art, but for clarity in a chaotic gaming environment, we're going to want some clear lines and a like a distinguishable art style for that.
Mhm.
Once things are moving around, moving and jumping and punching and splattering. I have to keep a squeaky kitten away from my bowl because there's people foods in the bowl and not for squeaky kittens. Hi, squeaky kitten. You're captured now. He's just relaxing under my arm, calculating how he can get from here over to my bowl. Thumping his tail against the back of the couch.
And I'm just gonna slowly do this as I do each one, so that way
All right.
I feel like that would be the best course of action, so I could see how it's actively changing and whatnot.
Yeah.
And since
Yeah.
I'm not done with these,
It would be.
they're going back to the blue layer.
Yeah. It would be. It would be the equivalent of a cell animator having the previous page or the next page available to just flip down and up as he works.
You know what? Also, for OBS purposes, I'm going to create a display capture. Actually, right beneath everything. Oh, wrong one. Well, not display capture.
If you'll give me a sec, I'm just gonna go grab some water.
Okay, no problem. Alright.
All right, I'm back.
Just figuring out how to adjust this because I don't want to lose the background.
Oh yeah.
Why not?
Your cat ate the human food. I took the bowl away when I stepped out. We tried to stop him.
All right.
Squeakies. He is standing in the kitchen now, though, staring at me from there.
Like, how dare you? You steal the you steal the treats away from me. Must be a very, very heartbroken cat.
Well, he's staring in like a is he watching me? Is he watching me? Kind of a way.
That's adorable.
It usually means he's planning to jump up on the kitchen counter and scavenge over there.
It's like,
But
okay, once he's gone,
once he's not looking.
yeah. I feel like I really want to definitely see how 8 frames handle on that one program.
Yeah.
Because if we can get 8 frames to work on that, that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
It'd cut on so much time, but at the same time, worst case scenario.
Like 8 frames should be pretty safe.
Mhm.
Like a lot of I think most of the arcade games did at the very least 6 frame walk or 6 frame run.
Mhm.
I don't remember any. Oh wait, no, I do remember. No, I want to say the Turtles arcade game had 4 frame walks, but I might just be thinking of the NES version.
Hmm.
Because I'm pretty sure. I mean, like the attack animations, I remember those being really smooth. I don't remember what the walking animations were like so much, but I think they had to be smooth to match.
Yeah. Fun fact, the original Alone in the Dark had, I think, 4 frames of animation.
Oh wow.
But, you know, they were working with primitive 3D and, you know.
Yeah.
That's something I haven't played, but, you know. I don't think it's available on modern hardware, but...
There must have been remakes done or something.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I need to adjust this a little. I'm trying to add a little bit of bop to the hair. Nothing too
Yeah.
crazy.
If it were me, I'd probably be trying to animate each part separately, because I'm absent-minded enough to forget the direction of each part. If I'm trying to animate each frame by itself, I would be absent-minded enough to forget where each part is going, like the momentum of each bit.
Mm-hmm. Can't have the neck too long because we don't want giraffe neck syndrome. So, down.
I saw a GIF of someone, a gif of a giraffe bending down to eat grass, and it sort of hops with its front legs. Like it sort of hops and does the splits a little bit with its front legs so that it can reach its head down to the grass,
Yeah. I saw
and then
one
hops back up again.
I saw one video. Now it was from that. I think it was the history guide, Wolf guy, and he was talking about the most like haphazard yet awesome like British soldier. Like every time something bad happened, like either he got the flu, he got a nail stuck right near his heart that they had to leave because it was too dangerous
Too
to
dangerous to remove. Yeah.
yeah. And he'd go on a trip, he got sick. One time he got crushed in the head with a giraffe. Well, by a giraffe.
Yeah.
Lived to survive that. The guy literally, he ended up dying peacefully in his sleep at age 80.
Wow.
Like, dang. All the stuff this guy has been through. Like, it was a lot. Like, the most
For sure.
Haphazard person you could ever think of.
Oh, I had a book. I had a really old book of world records way back when, and one of the things that it had was like most times survived getting struck by lightning.
Oof.
There was like one guy who survived something like 11 or 12 times getting struck by lightning.
Oh,
Like how unlucky do you got to be to get struck that many times to begin with?
like, of all the things to be lucky about, I would rather be lotto winner than struck by lightning. Because isn't that about...
Yeah.
I don't know. I know there's no chance with lotto tickets, but every now and again when they have a big pot, I'm like, okay, I'll get one. I doubt I'll get it, but you know.
There's always that hope.
Yeah, always the hope. I mean, worst case scenario, nothing happens like normal. Best case
I mean,
scenario, things are paid.
if you really want to win big, get yourself a gambling license and run a lotto yourself.
Can't gamble in Texas.
Oh,
Yep. Well,
so wait, why can you buy a lottery ticket?
it's a little different. It's weird.
Like, what company is it that does the lottery tickets, and what kind of license do they have?
It's Texas Lotto. It's pretty much the same lottery companies that are pretty much, I think, everywhere in the U.S.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but scratch offs are legal and lotteries, but things like slot machines, they're not legal.
Okay.
I mean, you
No
could have
one-armed
slot
bandit
machines, but they can't give out money.
Ah. So that just makes me think of how Japan gets around their gambling laws. Like there's, I would be very surprised if there wasn't one parlor somewhere that didn't try that somewhere in Texas.
Oh, there's illegal gambling rings, trust me.
Oh. They just go straight for illegal gambling.
Oh, yeah.
Oh boy. Like over here, you need a gaming license to do anything where there's a luck-based way of winning money. But in addition, there's a law that states that there has to be at least a little bit of skill-based something involved. So at least back when I used to receive these scratch-off tickets in the mail, these scratch-off lottery things in the mail, there would always be a little skill testing question that's something like 6 times 10 minus parentheses 2 plus 5 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Very simple math. And you would Yeah, like if you won, you had to answer the skill testing question correctly to actually claim your prize. Otherwise, like if there wasn't a skill testing question, then that was illegal gambling. But at the same time, when video games were just kind of catching on here, I wanted to look into running video game tournaments locally. And that also they ruled over here that that also needs a gaming license. So basically, if you're going to run a gaming tournament, you might as well run a casino, because running a casino is the only way you're going to afford the gaming license.
Hmm.
I mean, thinking back on what I know now, maybe I should have asked my parents for the uh, seed funding to run a casino.
What do you think?
So far, so good. 3 frames that smoothly transition into each other.
Hmm. Might need to adjust some
Although,
proportions.
yeah, it looks like she goes down, down, and then up. So that's a bit of a sudden change there.
Just going by the guide that I had with the animation.
Okay. All right.
Alright, so let me flip this back. Okay. See if I can get all 8 frames. I highly doubt it, but I can sure try, darn it. But some things I will need to adjust. For one, it's the pen size, because 2000 size pixels is a little too out of, too much.
Hmm.
Um, okay. Think that's good, just to have a base. And the next one is that. Would help if I change the opacity. Over time, the lines are going to get a little distorted, but you know,
Yeah.
it'll get
Yeah.
cleaned up.
It's gonna clean up in post.
Yeah, it's just rough lines. I feel like.
There's also the possibility of walking around with 1 or 2 slime blobs in hand.
Mm-hmm.
And if she's wearing the fuzzy slippers, then possibly 3 or 4 with a couple of them on her feet.
Mm-hmm. Oh wait, what am I doing? So her hair covers most of this,
Mm-hmm.
and the ear should not be that far back. I feel like this would be more like you see a corner of her face, but not much.
Yeah.
Like you see a little bit of the cheek, a little bit of the nose. Ah, redo. Okay, it froze for a little.
Ah. It's always troublesome when the program freezes just for a bit and you repeat the command and it does all the commands that you built up while it was freezing.
Yep. Trying to clean this up just a little, not much.
Hmm.
I feel like this one will be the easier one because most of her backside is covered by long floofy hair.
Yeah.
I really want to capture a bit of that real squish in the walk, so I'm doing a lot of
Hmm.
the
Yeah.
smush boots kind of.
Yeah. That's easy to see.
Mhm. That does not look right. There we go, maybe about.
Aha, yeah.
When in doubt, draw a bit of that muscle and bone.
Yeah. To help flesh out the clothing,
Hmm.
literally.
Yep. But if you can fake it enough, just kind of do a little bit of that imagining and get a rough estimate.
Yeah.
If you can fake it, but if you can't, then just sketch it out. Yeah, these later ones are going to get a little bit sloppy, but yeah.
As long as it flows smoothly,
Yep.
then yeah, we wouldn't have to worry about it. It's like JPEG compression. It's like the thought process behind JPEG compression, particularly in movies, in videos,
Hmm.
where like as long as the animation flows smoothly, not all the details have to be captured precisely.
Yeah.
There was actually a Tom Scott video on this, on why like confetti makes YouTube videos go crazy, because suddenly it has to actually process every frame so much more. It has to process so much more data every frame that like lower bandwidth computers won't be able to keep up.
Ah.
And so the video suddenly goes down to like 144p when there's like snow and confetti and just crazy stuff flying all over the place.
Hmm.
But when it's just Tom Scott by himself, then the video quality goes way back up again.
Hmm. I need to fix this because this does not look right. Just a little around the torso, and this leg drives me insane. For one, the body. A little bit more of that body.
Yeah. It's like the pants stop and there's nothing there.
She's just floating, you know,
Yeah.
as you do.
Just hair and then pants.
As you do. Okay, make sure I take out this layer. Save as this is 4.
Clinker, clinker, clinker. That's all I'm hearing.
It's getting there.
Aha. Yeah. This is a bit like if you just press the forward button and the character takes one step forward and then stays still.
Yeah.
Just like tap the forward button, tap, tap,
I mean,
tap,
if
and
you...
then take one step, one step, one step.
It's getting there.
Yeah, yeah.
If you're not paying attention, it looks fluid if you loop it.
Yeah, like I have the stream in picture, and yeah, it looks like something that would have appeared on TV in the 80s. It looks like the kind of animation that would have appeared on TV in the 80s.
Yay. But if you're not paying attention, it looks fluid.
Yeah.
So,
Like if you don't know that the other half isn't done yet, then
yeah.
you might think that this was the finished walk cycle.
I've hit Hanna-Barbera standards.
Yeah.
No.
Flintstones, Jetsons, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Like, they prided themselves on how cheap their animation was.
Really?
Yep. Like, they purposely skipped on frames to save on cost.
Wow.
Who was it? Not Tex Avery. I can't remember the name. Chuck something or another.
Chuck Jones.
Huh?
Is it Chuck Jones?
I think. He was saying. I think, was on record slamming Hanna-Barbera for how cheap their animation was.
Let's see here. Chuck. Not Chick.
I think it is Chuck Jones. That does make sense. That does sound familiar.
Chuck Jones, American animator. Chuck Jones, Hannah. Hanna. Barbara.
Barbera.
Oh. Hanna-Barbera. Something about Tom and Jerry.
That would be MGM.
Yeah. They worked on Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies. Chuck Jones, Hanna-Barbera quote. Hanna-Barbera quote. If you start with characters, you probably will end up with drawings. What? That doesn't sound like a quote I'm looking for. Oh, if you start with character, you'll probably end up with good drawings. That's Chuck Jones.
Hmm.
Animation anecdotes? Let's check this one. Limpet at Disney. When thinking about animation, how many fans forget about Warner Brothers' The Incredible Mr. Limpet, 1964, that according to the credits featured special piscatorial effects by such animation talents as Vladimir Bill Titla, Jerry Chiniquy, Holly Pratt, Robert McKimson, Maurice Noble, and Don Peters. Although former Disney animator Bill Titla was credited as the supervising animation director, I have been told that a combination of health issues and disagreements with producer John C. Rose led to Robert McKimson taking over most of the animation directing duties early in production. This movie was the final animated film work released by Warner Brothers before the animation studio was officially shut down. Stephen Hillenberg supposedly studied backgrounds. Nothing about Hanna-Barbera or Chuck Jones here. Oh wait, Joe Barbera quote. In 1976, Barbera told, I'm not used to reading it like that. Barbera told a magazine reporter that we have run into a stone wall because some citizens for the protection of the children of the world have decided cartoons are evil and they are violent and full of mayhem. We showed the networks 5 of the old Tom and Jerry's and they laughed so hard that they had tears in their eyes. Then they said, we can't use them. If we put those on, we'll get killed. I'm just as enthusiastic about Tom and Jerry as I was 20 years ago. Unless people went back and saw the old ones, I don't think they'll know there was a difference.
I've got to say, all things considered, Tom and Jerry is pretty brutal.
Yeah.
But
I mean, they were the inspiration for the Simpsons Itchy and Scratchy cartoons that just go straight into murder territory.
Yep.
The Dark Age of Animation?
I would say that was probably around World War II. Unless if they're talking about 70s where things were super cheap, and 80s.
I am seeing Flintstones here, Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Oh man, Rocky Bullwinkle. I loved that show when I was a kid.
And I do remember that show, like in retrospect, looking pretty cheap too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that show to me was more about the writing, and the visuals were just kind of an accessory to the writing.
Yep.
Fritz the Cat and Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown also was very cheap in retrospect.
Yeah.
Unfortunate successor to the golden age of animation. Limited animation was the rule, not the exception during this time. Okay, during the 80s, or slowly setting in the late 50s and lasting until the 80s, limited animation was the rule. The start coincided with the fall of the studio system in Hollywood. Aha. As the primary target audience for cartoons became children, so I could imagine them going like, well, kids don't have the attention span of adults or the mature sensibilities or whatever, so we could just go cheap on them.
Yeah, which is why they ended up with such terrible animation, like, or at least very cheap animation around that time.
With the closures of UPA and MGM's animation studios, it became primarily about saving time and money.
Mm-hmm.
Hanna-Barbera, founded by the eponymous duo in response to MGM shuttering its animation unit and firing them, was very prominent during this time thanks to how cheaply produced and rushed their television cartoons were.
Yes.
Given how these series used dialogue over visuals to move the stories forward, they became what Jones would describe with justified derision as illustrated radio.
I mean, he did roast him a little.
Still, they created not only successful kids' fare like the 60s Yogi Bear, but primetime series like Flintstones and Jetsons, and the influential adventure series Johnny Quest, which created a whole new television animation genre. Unfortunately, the studio soon fell into a crippling creative rut with the Saturday morning cartoon time slot, which led them to endlessly copying the concepts of their successful shows like Scooby-Doo and long-running shows like Super Friends.
Oh my gosh, the amount of Scooby Doo clones there are. Like,
So yeah, there are. Yeah, they've listed out. They've listed shows that I was not interested in as a kid, because yeah, there just wasn't any cartoon in these cartoons like Star Trek the animated series.
oh my gosh.
Like I've
They made an
unless
animated
someone mentioned,
Hanna-Barbera cartoon out of. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I don't know if it was Hanna Barbera,
Oh, okay.
but I just remember that yeah, there was a Star Trek animated series, but I keep forgetting about it until someone mentions it because it was just so boring.
Mm.
Like, why even bother animating it? It's that kind of boring. It's that kind of cartoon. It's like, why did you bother animating this when you could have just made a Star Trek show? There's nothing that you could do here that you couldn't do in a Star Trek radio show.
I guess, you gotta get the kids involved, in a
Yeah.
space
I mean,
sci-fi thing that has.
I did have a friend back then that was into Star Trek enough to probably have watched the Star Trek cartoon,
Mhm.
but like I was not into Star Trek. Not back then. I mean, it was already the Star Trek show proper was already too talky to hold my attention as a kid, and just that the cartoon was even more talky and less animated.
Oh.
I mean, that was a real achievement in animation-free animation.
Mhm.
Fritz Freeling kept his own hand in the field with Departier Freeling Enterprises, which supervised the final batch of theatrical Looney Tunes short and then created the Pink Panther and various years before being purchased by Marvel Comics to become Marvel Productions. Oh, so apparently parents pressured cartoon studios to have content restrictions. In particular, the complainer is always wrong. What? Is that like some kind of cartoon equivalent to Snitches Get Stitches?
I don't know. I'd imagine a lot of cartoonists have a lot of someone think of the children,
Yeah,
but
but I'm just wondering, like, what kind of parent would say, like, okay, maybe they don't want their kid to get beaten up in the schoolyard or something, but if something bad is happening, you probably want the bad thing to stop more than some person to get in trouble for snitching about it.
hmm,
Ugh, I don't know. I was raised like in the environment I was raised. Snitches don't get stitches, but you'll certainly get threatened about it,
yeah.
or you'll be called a narc or something.
All right, let me.
apparently during this time, even Disney sort of swerved away from animation a bit and focused more on the theme parks and so was it television and increased interest for television and theme park products. So away from films. I
Like,
do remember that. Although I was introduced to Disney as an animation company, they were doing some live action stuff.
hmm
Ooh, that's looking pretty smooth.
yeah,
There's a bit of a sudden jump up there when you look at the head height.
yeah. It just
Yeah,
could be the canvas size,
maybe.
but still. Either way,
Looking good.
yeah. But now, what was I gonna say? Can't think. Oh. Oh yeah, like even the few that they did release for Disney, it wasn't really that good, but it was technically impressive, like the Black Cauldron.
All right.
It
Wait,
was
are we still talking about Hanna-Barbera?
this is Disney around that
Okay.
time.
Yeah, I was thinking you were talking about like work that Hanna-Barbera did for Disney or something like that.
No. None that I know of. But Disney did produce things like the Black Cauldron, which
Hmm.
yeah, it isn't technically oh wait, that's more the 80s. 80s or 70s. Either way, it did break ground as one of the first films to use CGI.
Ah, okay. I don't remember if I've seen the Black Cauldron. I will have to look that up later.
Yeah.
Let me make a note of it.
I mean, it isn't the best, but I enjoyed it, but you know.
All right. Looney Tunes was still producing some decent and entertaining shorts late in the 50s. So yeah, Looney Tunes, they seem to always have a pretty good mix of visual gags and written gags. Like the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote segments, those were pretty much no dialogue. There's all of their gags were visual, or maybe like if they had to say something, they would say it in signs,
hmm
in written signs. Limited animation pioneer John Hubley did his best work at UPA in the 50s with theatrical shorts such as Gerald McBoing Boing.
I can't.
Gerald McBoing Boing. Later, he left UPA and became a noted independent animator, producing a series of distinctive and personal films with his wife Faith, as well as educational shorts for PBS shows. In Canada, the National Film Board of Canada encouraged exploration in all kinds of deranged animation techniques. Huh?
What the freak?
Most famously with the work of Norman McLaren, who produced wildly creative shorts like Begone Dull Care, drawn on film animation set to Oscar Peterson's jazz music, Neighbors, Pixelation, and Pas de deux, ballet with optical printing enhancements. Oh, and Ralph Bakshi's here too.
Huh.
Animator Ralph Bakshi, who got to start in this era, working in the twilight years of Terry Toons, rose to prominence during this era thanks to Fritz the Cat, yes. And this film, along with Watership Down, challenged the idea that cartoons were solely kids' stuff, an idea that is becoming increasingly popular at the time due to the diminishing quality of the cartoons of that time period.
Yep, it caused
So
a
that's
very bad stigma of, oh, it's only for kids, but if you look at 1940s, you'll see a bunch of, like, propaganda cartoons for people entering the military, like, yeah.
Yeah, Donald Duck in Nutsyland.
Yep.
Like even then, like if you look at the actual subject matter, it is still very much like a bouncy, silly cartoon. It's
Yeah,
just a cartoon covering war propaganda.
yeah. But,
But yeah,
you know,
I remember Ralph Bakshi's stuff being to have cartoons that targeted adults, but
mhm,
I didn't know it was because the cartoons of that time were so bad, and people were using the fact that cartoons were aimed at kids as an excuse to to let their cartoons be bad.
mhm. They got lazy, they got cheap.
Hmm. I know that I didn't like a lot of. There are some of Bakshi's works that I didn't like anything that where the rotoscoping is obvious, like the Lord of the Rings.
Hmm.
Like a lot of my friends here really enjoy Ralph Bakshi's The Lord of the Rings, but when I watched it, I started like it started out really nice looking,
Hmm.
but then around like as it goes on, it just seems to be a bunch of guys at a bar
Oh,
with
yeah,
some
that's
really lazy
so
rotoscoping over them.
jarring.
Yeah,
There was one scene where the guy literally filmed the crew going to lunch and used it as a
yeah,
battle scene.
yeah,
I mean, I, I guess it works, but at the same time,
yeah.
I don't know. I kind of like that one, but I do admit the rotoscoping is very jarring.
Yeah. Like in oh, what was it? He did Wizards. Wizards had some rotoscoping, but it didn't take away from like the animation aspect, the fantasy aspect. That was still very strong in that.
And then
And
American
like
Pop
American
goes.
Pop, I hadn't seen that one.
That one's a pretty good one. So it basically follows a generation, well, generations of musicians, and each time someone almost reached stardom, something happens.
Ah,
Like, it starts off with a Russian Jewish immigrant in the burlesque era, then it goes to his son in the jazz era, and then it
hmm.
goes to that person's son in the like 60s rock era,
All
and
right.
then it goes to his supposed son in the like 80s rock era.
Hmm.
And then they have like the music of the periods and whatnot, and I don't know.
Hmm.
I like it. It's
All
not
right.
focused on
Definitely
like,
something to add.
yeah, it's not in terms of Bakshi's work, it's very tame, but I enjoy it just because the whole music aspect.
All right. Well, that's something for me to add to the watch list. Oh, Hanna-Barbera is mentioned again here. Even Hanna-Barbera brought a respectable adaptation of Charlotte's Web to the big screen in 1973.
Oh yeah, the what was it? The C.S. Lewis actually was it C.S. I'm thinking the wrong author. I think. Yeah, I'm thinking the wrong author.
C.S. Lewis was the Chronicles of Narnia, I believe.
Darn it. Yep, you're right. But okay. So the author of Charlotte's Web hated that adaptation,
Ah.
and ironically, it's probably their most, you know, probably how a lot of people got introduced to it.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I could see that. Even Hanna-Barbera. Oh yeah. Some cartoons from the era may have had mediocre to poor animation, but were ultimately saved by good writing. Shows like Rocky and Bullwinkle would be a particularly good example of that. Likewise, Terry Gilliam's surreal animated skits in Monty Python's Flying Circus, utilizing his own artwork, antique photographs, and the classical music and military marches played at double speed, would prove to be enormously influential. And yeah, I, I mean, when I got to watch Monty Python, it was
It's
I want
trippy,
to
but it's
say
interesting.
yeah, I want to say around the 2000s, like maybe a little before, a little after.
Hmm.
There was this one like there was a channel on cable TV that billed itself as kind of the classy shows.
Hmm.
It was I think it was called Showcase or something like that.
Hmm.
And they would have like the artsy kind of stuff. But then I want to say every weekday night after like 9 o'clock or so, they would show an episode of Monty Python's Flying Circus, and it was just the funniest thing I've ever seen. And when it would go into these animated skits, I would think these look horrible, but it's horrible on purpose.
Yeah. I haven't actually seen the series, but I have seen the movie. Well, some of the movies. But yeah,
That is definitely something we're gonna have to watch together. The Monty Python's Flying Circus
yeah.
series, because it is a pure dose of like
They were on all
what's
the
the happy
drugs.
stuff? Serotonin. It is a pure dose of happy stuff because it'll make you laugh just straight from the beginning to the end.
Yeah, I
I
remember
mean, they've
my.
got this one.
Oh, sorry.
Hmm? Go ahead.
You finish.
All right. Like my favorite skit of the entire series was one of the ones that they did early on. It was just called the funniest joke in the world. And the joke is ultimately just a bunch of nonsense because they couldn't. The funniest joke in the world was so funny that anyone who read it, even just 2 words of it, um, would be hospitalized. Like if you read 2 words of this joke at a time, you would be hospitalized for 6 months. And if you read the whole joke and understood it, then you would die. You would die of laughter. And they ended up having to translate it because this sketch was taking place during the wartime, so they were translating this joke into German so that they could weaponize it and have people run out into the field while people were firing their guns and yell this joke in German, and then the gunfire would stop and the enemy soldiers would be laughing and falling out of the trees. It was just I don't know what it is. I think it was just like just having the entire crew just contribute whatever they could,
Hmm.
just contribute every joke they could, and just having this huge pool of resources to draw from is probably what made this show go so strong
Yep.
as long as it did. Because it would just go from one kind of joke to another, and if like one joke fell flat, the next one was less than a minute away.
I didn't.
And then, of course, there were these weird animations just sprinkled right in.
Yeah, I didn't watch that like at all as a kid. But the one British comedy I do remember watching with my grandma and my cousins was the Benny Hill show.
The Witch Show?
Benny Hill.
Benny Hill, ah, yeah.
Yeah.
Now that's one I didn't see.
I don't remember
That
much
one
of
was
it,
not
and
available.
it's good old British humor that is very, very risque.
Hmm.
At
Might be
least
something to look into. So this was something that you watched when you were little?
it was something my grandma used to always watch, and we watch.
Oh.
It had, we understood it was British humor. It was different. They did have, different humor from
All
like
right.
the US, so we were like, okay, we understand. I don't remember much. All I remember is the chase scenes, with the
With the music.
yeah.
Yeah. Uh I think well I think I was probably underage when I saw like the first Monty Python thing,
Hmm.
but it wasn't particularly risky. I think it was Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
And and I guess there was technically parental supervision or parental guidance or whatever, because it was like um, adults showing the film to us and just like if anyone had any questions, there they were.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just like one, not even like there wasn't. There's probably nudity, but I don't remember if there was. And there was like the naughty nun scene.
Yes.
That was it.
That was hilarious. They have a holy grail sign, and then they see a guy, and they're just like, "No, stay!"
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, Monty Python doesn't usually get too naughty, but it does get a little naughty.
I just remember there were a lot of scenes where I'm like, "Oh my gosh," and my grandma just had to explain, "It's a British comedy. They have moments like this." And, we were around adults. It was, we weren't little
Alright.
kids.
Yeah. Parental supervision is advised, that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, we always watched TV all together, like, in the living room and whatnot.
Hmm. Yeah. So you've got, this is 5 frames?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, actually, no, this is 6 frames.
Ah, yeah. I see the arm moving forward a little bit there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so on to the next one, which I'll flip the scene soon. Hold on. Okay. And then I
That's...
remember seeing glimpses of whose line was it anyway.
Oh, yeah. And it's hard to find, like, whose line is it anyway? It's kind of split into 3 shows now.
Mm.
3 or 4 shows. There was the original, there was the early, like, British Whose Line Is It Anyway? There was the American one, then there was the American one with Drew Carey, and now there's the current American one with this new host. And I think maybe Ryan Stiles was the only one that was in all of them.
Mm.
But yeah, like the one that I watched the most, I think had Ryan Stiles, Greg Proops, the one that I can't remember, and Wayne Brady. Oh no, wait, no, Ryan Stiles was not the one that was there the whole time. It was the one that I can't remember that was there the whole time. Colin Mockery. He should have been the one that I remembered first, because back in the Animutation days, there was kind of a superstition going around that any celebrity that's featured in an Animutation dies, dies soon after, except for Colin Mockery.
Huh.
Like, there was one Animutation, like, I don't know if it would even count because, oh no, yeah, it did. It had lyrics. Animutations are supposed to be flash animations that take foreign music and try to interpret English lyrics out of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then from the interpreted English lyrics, you make an animation. You make a little music video. And there's one back when a guy named Dave Thomas was the CEO of Wendy's. Yeah, there was an animutation called DDR Dave Thomas, and the day after that animutation went out, that Dave Thomas died.
Yeah.
And like it was so weird. Like, I think this was the first instance of that happening, but it happened to 2 more celebrities, and then we're like, Colin Mockery is the only celebrity that could be put into an animutation and not die.
Hmm.
Because I mean, Hyakugo Juichi was I think the first animutation, at least the first one that was called an animutation.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that was the first season ending theme of Pokemon in Japanese. Like Hyakugo Juichi is just 151.
Hmm.
But yeah, the first ending theme with done in Flash with Colin Mockery very prominently featured in many of the scenes. Oh wait, no, there's also Mr. Bean. Mr. Bean is featured in that one as well.
Mr. Bean is a treasure.
Yeah, I remember watching a lot of him too, but I don't remember much. I remember him getting very. I remember like the
Like,
character of Mr. Bean does not talk very much.
or any at all.
So yeah, like the scene that I remember is when he gets really annoyed and he goes up to like a service counter and they ask him name and he just blurts out Bean. And then yeah, they ask him what his problem is and he's just like it's a whole bunch of nonsense.
But no, oh gosh, remember, did you see the skit of him at the British Olympics? When was that? 2011? No,
Oh no,
2012.
I don't.
Okay, so he was in an orchestra in the Olympics, and he
It
was
already sounds good.
the only thing he was doing was pressing one key.
Okay.
And while he was doing that, he was just imagining this whole thing. I think he was running in a race and he won, and he's just daydreaming. And at the end, the maestro is just looking at him like, "Well, you gonna finish?" And then he does this whole thing, and then just. I think there's more to it, but I'll have to show you.
Yeah. All right.
It's very Mr. Bean.
I think I wanted to see the Mr. Bean movie too.
Hmm.
Like that's relatively recent. And I think it's a pretty modern like I think it takes place in a more modern setting than the Mr. Bean skits did.
Hmm.
I remember that when it was announced, I was surprised that Mr. Bean was still a thing. So it must have been like hearing about a Mr. Bean sketch in 2012 is still kind of surprising to me. Let's see if I look up Mr. Bean.
And just
Oh,
say
yeah.
London Olympics.
Then Olympics. Olympicas. 2012 music. Mr. Bean at the Olympics. Oh yeah, he's just pressing one key on a keyboard.
Yep.
At the London 2012 Olympic Games. Crazy haired director. Crazy haired conductor. Yeah, that's Rowan Atkinson, all right.
Whoa.
I'll have to save this to my watch later.
It's ridiculous, but
I wonder, while we're still on the topic of cheap cartoons in the 80s, like, I was around, like, there were some shows that would be plunked in front of the TV of before school, and some of them were, like, we didn't use this term back then, but they were anime. And I was just looking at this article here. It's like anime was making its first impact in North America with such imports as Astro Boy, Speed Racer, Space Battleship Yamato, Kimba the White Lion, and Battle of the Planets. And we didn't get most of those. We got Speed Racer, although Speed Racer looked cheap enough to fit in with American cartoons. I think
yeah.
the ones that looked particularly good for the time was there was a Wizard of Oz anime. There was Hello Kitty, and shoot, what else was there? I want to say like a little later on when I was like in high school, there was Samurai Pizza Cats. There was Dragon Ball, of course.
Hmm. Sailor Moon.
Sailor Moon was a little later.
Oh wait,
Yeah, Sailor Moon was later than Dragon Ball.
not by much though. Still,
Yeah,
I
like
mean, unless if you
around
count
the
the
time
Harmony Gold dubs.
around the time that Sailor Moon was available on our TVs, on my TVs, um, Dragon Ball Z was already out.
Mhm. That looked good.
Oh yeah.
Got a bit of weight to the walk too.
Yeah. I'm just scrutinizing for what. Let's see. What can I? Is there anything I can criticize about it? The bounce is a little high, but it's not the worst. Like that, the hair is consistent.
Hmm.
Clothes are pretty consistent, and like the style is pretty much what we've gone with so far.
Hmm.
The
Yeah,
tattoo could be a little bit more visible, but we could clean that up later.
yeah. I feel like this could be cleaned up. Like a lot of this could be done post. Well, not post, but you
Yeah,
get my point.
yeah. Once we colorize and vectorize, yeah. I mean, the hair looks especially impressive. The way that you kept all those little spikes consistent.
Hmm. I'm trying my darndest, but you know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, one more frame.
So let's see what else we got on this article here. Animation age ghetto is a trope that has its roots firmly planted in this era due to the growing emphasis on conservative values from the 50s onwards that led to moral guardians attacking anything that they didn't consider child friendly.
Darn boomers. No, I'm sorry.
There are so many names here that are foreign to me. Like stuff that looks like it would be made up, like Bat Fink,
What?
Beanie and Cecil.
That sounds like just a slang for Finkel matter.
Yeah.
It does. I don't know.
Some that I recognize, like the Deputy Dog Show.
Hmm.
There's a whole block for Disney. Down and Dirty Duck. What? Oh, I remember Fluffy Dogs. That's the one that sounds fake but is real. And it was like dimension hopping cartoon dogs that enter the human world.
Hmm.
But not like Roger Rabbit style. The human world is also cartoon.
Not
Cartoon
like
dogs
the
that enter cartoon
Roger
human world.
Rabbit like base cartoon either,
Hmm.
because there was Bonkers.
Oh yeah.
Bonkers was a thing.
There's a cartoon of the Fonz and the Happy Days gang.
Oh gosh. Where you 70s and 80s cartoons. Where you will name it, there is a cartoon for it.
hmm The thing that I remember growing up with the cartoons that I had growing up was that Ninja Turtles got really popular really fast,
Hmm.
and then there were a whole bunch of clones of it. There was Biker Mice from Mars, there was Street or Sewer Sharks, there was Cowboys of Moo Mesa, and those are just the three that are off the top of my head. There was Bucky O'Hare,
Hmm.
and just like and even Bucky O'Hare even got a Konami arcade game, just like Ninja Turtles did.
Hmm.
Like I feel like Konami and Capcom are fighting for the rights to these cartoon like car- potential cartoon battler games,
Hmm.
potential cartoon beat 'em ups. Although the Bucky O'Hare game was like it had a beat 'em up setting, but you were mostly using a gun.
Hmm.
If I recall, oh no, wait, no, both TMNT and Bucky O'Hare prominently featured humans. Although Bucky O'Hare only, I think, featured one human.
Mm. For me, it was a bunch of, what was it? Pokemon ripoffs,
Oh
the
yeah.
babyfication craze.
Oh yeah, yeah, Muppet Babies and stuff.
Yep, I have
Yeah,
tapes of Muppet Babies from when I was a kid.
yeah,
But, there was that. All the Pokemon clones out there.
yeah. Digimon and Monster Rancher.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the two that I got.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, no, there was also Fighting Foodons.
Yep. Cardcaptor Sakura. Or card
Oh yeah, we got that real
captors,
late.
you know, I
Yeah,
think,
card captors.
I really think that, if I remember correctly, they really butchered that one.
Yeah,
Because I think they try to make the male lead the male character the lead because, oh no, a girl is the lead. What do we do?
yeah. So they removed Sakura from the title.
Yep. And then
Made it
later
card
they actually
captors.
redubbed that, apparently, to be more faithful.
Yeah. Oh, there was a show. Um, there was a show that I saw. There was an anime that I saw growing up called Saber Rider and the Star Sheriffs.
Hmm.
Did you ever get that one?
I didn't. I don't think so.
Okay. So in I don't quite know. I don't remember what it was originally called, but uh, they had three American. Oh, they had one Japanese star and three American sidekicks, I think.
Hmm.
And of course, they had the token girl who was obsessed with the Japanese star.
Hmm.
And when they brought that show over here, they tried to make one of the American guys the star, the star of the show. So all the lines that they had the Japanese guy speak, and whenever they had the crew members talking to the Japanese guy, they would have the American the dubbers act as if they were talking to the American star,
Hmm.
the new American star. Yeah, even though the characters were still looking at the Japanese guy and gesturing towards the Japanese guy. And of course, like the Japanese guy's name was Shinji, I think, and they translated that as Fireball because why not?
I mean, at least we didn't get the Harmony Gold Dragon Ball because Goku would be Zero.
Oh yeah,
Yep, that was his dub name. Bulma was.
Zero.
Yep, because it sounds edgy.
Yeah, like I can't think of a fictional character named Zero and not think Mega Man Zero.
Hmm. But,
Because yeah, like for a robot, it makes sense.
mhm. That leg is not right.
Like if I recall, like when Dragon Ball was on, we started calling anime or Japanimation,
Hmm.
um, which apparently I'm still not totally sure on it, but I think it like calling it Japanimation is considered racist now.
I don't
I
know.
mean, it's not all out of Japan, so it's incorrect at the very least. Because there's anime that's out of Korea and China and
Mhm.
just anime style out of the US as well.
And
And like
technically,
there's stuff that's
oh, sorry.
oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say Korea did a lot of their, well,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
betweens as well.
Mm-hmm. But anyways, there was yeah, shoot. What was I saying originally?
Sorry! Anime
No,
from
it's
different
okay.
locations.
Before that,
Oh, crud.
something about Dragon Ball. Oh,
Okay.
around when Dragon Ball was coming out, we were getting familiar with the term anime.
Mhm.
So yeah, but before then, it was just like I guess we knew that it was from Japan because like it was just so distinctively, it was so distinct from the fundamentals from at the root level of what local like Canadian or American animation does.
Yeah, the
That
thinner lines, the semi more fluid animation.
yeah,
Okay, so.
yes, Saber Rider and the Star Sheriffs was not on like it was taken way off the air by that point.
Mhm.
I think I could probably hunt down some episodes,
Yeah.
but I remember like when the Wii was selling, there was a company that was determined to make a Saber Rider and the Star Sheriffs game, like a beat 'em up,
Mhm.
and it seemed pretty exciting. But I don't know if they actually did it. And like I've forgotten about it until now, so it would be too late to hunt for the game itself if it ever did come out.
Mhm.
I do remember that they did a Robotech revival with Robotech Battlecry, and they called all the voice actors back, and it was great until you actually hear their voices in game and realize that their voices have actually aged 20 years.
Ooh.
They sound so much older. They like you could tell that they're trying to get the voices of those characters back, but they aren't those characters anymore. They
Mhm.
can't be those characters anymore. It is a fun little battle game, but it's not worth $120.
Oops, I messed up. So the eighth frame should not have this background. Almost giving myself a seizure on the test. Oh,
Whoopsie.
yep. Because everything was fun and then blah. I wonder if I can change the canvas size on this. On Pencil 2D.
Oh yeah, change the double click the camera layer.
Click the camera layer. Hold up.
Mhm. And it should give you some properties.
Camera layer. Ah,
Yeah, where it says camera layer, double click that.
okay. You know what? 80 by 720. That should work. Import, image sequence, browse. Okay. What? What did I do? Okay.
This is on a
Oh, sorry. This is on what?
oh, I'm just this is on a new document, right?
Mm-hmm.
Clip Studio. Oh no, wait, that's the other window.
There we go.
Aha. Aha.
There we go. I even like how the finger movements go a little.
Yeah. Looking pretty smooth.
Yep. And that's all 8 frames.
Yeah.
It's already 11:40. My gosh.
Oh yeah. We're way past our usual time.
Yep, I might cut it short. Thank y'all for
All right.
watching. Bye.
Till next time.